that brings us to the releases. So tons of releases we're going to talk about today. And we're going to start with the Gemini Jet's May releases, which as I'm taking a look at their website was just changed to only showing the May releases. So the June releases might already be out by the time this podcast is up. But just knowing at the time to record this, the May releases were the most recent ones. So this release set brought a bunch of interesting aircraft. It's a little bit on the smaller side, at least for 400 scale, and larger for the 200 scale ones. But we got a lot of interactive series releases this month, including two 747s in 400 scale, China Southern and Polar. Now both of these are either retired or older liveries, but I still think they are cool. The JSX 145, super exciting. The Breeze Air A220, also super exciting. And the American Airlines Electra is one of the more interesting models. It's quite expensive. Gemini charges a lot for it, but it's a really cool aircraft. The livery looks nice, and I know that you are getting one. The National 727 is pretty cool. Of course, the United States Air Force aircraft are both interesting. And in 200 scale, we are getting the 333 for American, and this time there's a flaps down variant available. Of course, the CRJ 200 and 200 scale is interesting. Of course, we're getting Cali 1, both flaps up and flaps down. It's a smaller-ish, not as exciting release overall, but there's still some interesting things in here.
Yeah, I think Gemini Jets did a great job with this release. Of course, they've been releasing a ton of models for all regions, so it's very exciting to see another phenomenal set from them. Again, some really good stuff in 400. Despite only being 6 models, this is the perfect contrast of some stuff that everybody could want, and also if somebody needed the pass for some money reasons, that is also there as well. Great job with the variety. I was really happy to see that. Also, some really good Air Force aircraft with the C-17 for the March Air Force Base. That's awesome. And the Maine Air National Guard KC-135. Very nice. The 1-200s were also awesome. Another really nice contrast for all of our Australian viewers and people. We got the Alliance Fokker 100, which is very exciting. One aircraft that I was very interested to see was the Asiana Boeing 777-200ER. That's a nice aircraft for sure. And then another one that's really cool for our retro collectors, the Twin Otter for Continental Airlines. That is very nice. Also great to see the Southwest California one, as mentioned previously, and the Delaware Air National Guard C-130. Very cool. So overall, kind of one of those low-key releases, but honestly, you got to have some of those somewhere, and yes, it's going to be very exciting. So eager to see what Gemini will do for June. I think they have a lot of great options ahead, so we'll have to see where it takes us for June.
Absolutely, and that next brings us on to the NG models releases. Huge release. As far as I can tell, this is the biggest model aircraft release of all time. 30 models in this set if you include the new retro model from the new brand. So 30 releases total, loaded. We have 200 scale models and 400 scale models. Of course, in 200 scale, we got the Gulfstream and the CRJ 200, both good molds by NG and both great for your 200 scale collection. I have several Gulfstreams and I like all of them from NG. And we do have a bunch of 400 scale aircraft. We have the Tu-204, the L-1011, the ARJ-21, the A330-300, the A350, the new Airbuses. We got 6 of them, 6 new Airbuses, so that's a good number. We have the 787s, 333s, and 222s. Those are both recent molds, are also showing up here again. 757s in Delta Airlines, yeah, woo! Very excited about that, of course. We have 747 SP, 2 of them. And we have 737-900, 737-800, 737-600, another new mold. So basically, on this one, we have like 8 new molds showing up. So they're definitely going hard on the new mold. And I think we're going to see a ton of releases coming out with the new molds. And it's really exciting to see that. Tons of good stuff, a little bit of something for everybody. Personally, for me, I don't think I'll be able to pre-order all of these because there's too many good ones, but of course, no one will be surprised I'm getting a ton of Delta 757s. I will be picking up Delta 321 Neo as well, and I'll be picking up the Play 321 Neo. The KLM Asia 333 is of interest for me because I saw that exact aircraft in Atlanta, and of course, I have the KLM 333 from Gemini, however I would consider again the NG version as it's a superior model. And of course both United 739s will be mine. And of course the WestJet cargos are tempting, but I'd like to get the Cargojet 75s instead from a previous release. The Tu-204s look good as well, although I got the one that I already wanted, which was actually the first one they made, which was the Cubana. But the Tu-204 is a very unique aircraft. We aren't getting a 154 this month. I think that's the only new mold we didn't see this month, but we got one last month in the standard Aeroflot livery, as you might have seen during the Soviet era, of which I should mention that those May releases have not come in stock yet. We've seen some of the pictures for those, but those are not at retailers yet. But they should be here soon. The June release loaded tons of great stuff, and it'll be a very unique release, and I think it will probably take a while for all these to show up. Expect some of these to take 2, maybe even 3 months to show up at your doorstep.
Yeah, awesome assessment right there. I mean, that was perfect. So, great release, very fun release. What I really like about this release is there was a little bit of everything here. I mean, you can go to all regions outside of, I think South America was the only one that really missed out on some models here, and this is phenomenal. So, some really high demand ones that really need to be done for a long time. Whether it's superior molds or just aircraft that haven't been done in general in either a long time or not at all, this was perfect. So, well done with all these airplanes. This is very exciting. I think that they did a great job with all kinds of different variants, liveries, all kinds of that fun stuff, and a great balance of retro models, modern models, all across the globe models, popular models, not quite as popular models, niche-based models, whatever you want to say. So this was great. Well done by NG Models. This was a fun release. Yes, I definitely expect some of these to get delayed into further months. There's no way they can make all of these in 1 month, but it's really great to see them announced. I think they'll continue to do them one by one, as they say on their Instagram page, and I'm really excited to see where they're going to go with this. So great job by NG Models, and I'm very excited to see where they'll go going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. NG is doing great stuff, and we're excited to see what they do. So with that being said, we move to JC Wings. So we're trying to cover as many model aircraft companies as we can, not just the big ones like NG or Gemini, but we want to cover some of the smaller or more obscure brands. So we're going to cover some of them in today's video as well. Tons of planes get released, and of course you have to pick which ones you're going to get, because obviously 99.9% of people have a limited budget. So, JC Wings did drop some models, and there's some good stuff in here, but nothing that I'm going to pick up. There's one that if it comes out in 400 scale, I will pick up. But there was the Air Baltic 737-500. That comes out in 400 scale, I will be buying that one for my new Riga project airport. Some interesting ones, I thought the China Airlines A350 was the most interesting, both flaps up and flaps down. For that one, of course, JC Wings created the flaps down mold, so they do a lot of these flaps up and flaps down releases where they make both. The Japan Airlines 747, for example, this month on the new 747 mold looks to be quite good. A ton of new molds have come out in the last year. I mean, we are filled with new molds from everybody, except Phoenix molds. They're still using molds from like 15 years ago. But of course, the Qantas A350, everybody's going to be making that because, you know, it'll sell, even though it's not really a model that's, in my opinion, that significant, outside the fact that Qantas ordered the 350 and they slapped the Qantas logo on a Airbus house livery 350. But it's one that I know a lot of people are going to be interested just because of the significance of the aircraft. So if you're looking for it, the JC Wings variant is pretty good, and it's very good in 200 scale. So it will be a very good pick up for that. And in 400 scale, I would say if you're looking for this one, just wait for the upcoming, at some point, NG Models version, whenever they do make a 350-1000. But I think a lot of people will in fact get this JC Wings version, as it is better than the Phoenix version. Of course, we're seeing an MD-80 made with Finnair, so that's really exciting. And of course, the one that I'm most excited about, one that I would consider was kind of its own separate release, but this was the Star Wars 737. The only reason I'm not so sure about it is NG is making this model as well, and it looks like their version will be superior to the JC Wings one, just because the mold's better. Another interesting aircraft, the last one I'm going to talk about here, is the Super Guppy. Now this is a model that has not been made for a really long time. I think only 1 or 2 others have been made, and they were made using this exact same mold. Now this one is also unique because if you buy this model, you will get a skin tag of the Super Guppy #1 included with your purchase. So that would be really interesting to see. You'll get this polished metal model that would be really cool with a skin tag. So that is something I would consider buying. I'm just not sure if I'm going to get it, but I do think that this will sell out on pre-order, and I suspect, considering the fact there are skin tags with this is going to be a really limited edition model. If I had to guess, maybe around 200 units, which would be very, very rare. So definitely a model to consider, but it comes at the price of a 200 scale model. So it comes at the price of what would be a very rare model. So definitely something to think about before you buy it. But it would be a very unique model for your collection if you did pick it up.
Absolutely. Lots of great planes in this release. Citrus hit on all of them that were really good. There's a special Air Canada A220 livery, turning red, that's really nice. Got an Air Canada L1011, that's also really cool. And then, again, the 1000 sticker for the Airbus A350 for Qantas, that's great. Lots of great planes here, and it's great to see JC Wings continuing to get those niche markets as well. A lot special livery for CRJ 900, the Nordica livery, which is very cool. And, again, lots of great planes. We got some Dragonair cargo stuff too, which is great. I mean, all kinds of great stuff, even some house liveries. So fun release right there. Great job by JC Wings, and they'll continue to fill those markets. Great for international collectors of all regions, and I'm excited to see where they'll continue as well. Also really cool to see the Star Wars livery release. The 1-200, I'm really eager to see how that will turn out. I don't think In-Flight will ever do it, but we'll have to see. So very excited to see how that will come out as well. But for the moment, we have the releases that we just showed. So very nice to take a look at those, and JC's continuing to do what they do.
Absolutely. And of course, with that being said, we move on to another 200 scale brand. Now this company mostly makes 200 scale aircraft. They are In-Flight 200. They've also at some points in the past made 500 scale models, but 200 scale is their bread and butter. And In-Flight is very interesting because they are a company that makes very few aircraft, and they will make extremely niche aircraft to the point where they have made aircraft specifically for one customer. And so some of these aircraft can be very rare, and they will release all sorts of aircraft, and they can release almost anything. Now, of course, they also do a different release cycle than what most companies do. Unlike what most companies do, where they'll do a specific release set, where they'll do maybe like 10 models once every month. In-Flight will just sort of trickle models out. They'll be like, okay, today we're going to release 3 planes, and then maybe next week they'll release 2. It's kind of all over the place, and they release a lot of special releases and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of aircraft in this one, and they have molds for seemingly every aircraft commercial airliner on the planet, and they do some military as well. The one that I'm most excited from the most recent batch is the American 757-200 with the winglets, November 612 Alpha. I'm pretty much guaranteed to be picking this one up. It'll look super cool alongside the Gemini one, and yeah, it'll be a great model to add to the collection.
Absolutely fantastic. Again, In-Flight, I think, is a really cool brand. I really hope to pick up one of their planes because they look really, really cool. And again, really cool assessment, and they have a lot of very interesting releases. So sometimes they'll just do, usually their average, from my observations, appears to be about 7 to 12 models, and they'll just drop a few as it is, which is really cool. And they'll do a lot of various carriers too, which is really cool. In their most recent release, you're going to find stuff from America, Canada, US Navy even. That's very cool. Some retro America stuff, Vagrit, I think, hopefully I said that right, and then just different airlines. Air New Zealand in here with some classics, so very cool. Even the Korean Fokkers, so very nice right there. But then you'll even find some small releases that also go along with that with a JL. This was titled as a limited one, which is very cool. And J Fox they also work with, which is cool, but like a Lufthansa A310, TUI Boeing 767-300, the Ryanair 737-800, man, it's just awesome. So they absolutely have it lined up. It's really, really cool. But for our US based on the big ones, feel free to check out Easy Toys' article and In-Flight in general for the full list. But for the big ones that stand out of note, you got the America 757 polished. What a cool airplane. Very, very nice. The America 707-100, absolutely great. US Navy UC 880, very cool. Pan Am Devils DC-8, very, very nice right there. Air New Zealand 737-200 seems really cool. You got the Korean Fokker 28, very nice. JAL 350, very cool. We got a RAAF A330-200 MRTT, very nice. Lufthansa A310, TUI 767-300, and the Ryanair 737. So lots of great planes there from in-flight. They continue to do a great job, and I really like their molds. They're very detailed. Just like I kind of reminds me of Aviation 400 in the 1-200 scale. They're super precise, big on detail. I think they have moving fan blades and all that fun stuff in all their molds. They have lots of molds, and I would highly recommend checking them out. In-flight is great in 1-200 scale, and I highly recommend them for anybody looking for detail, quality, and accuracy. Great job by In-Flight 200. They are a great brand. Well done.
Yeah, and they do some really interesting things. Now, when they say limited on Japan Airlines 350, they mean it. Like, there might be 50 of those made total. Like, that's really limited. And they do some interesting stuff. Like, I don't think it was in this release set, but they did the General Electric 747-400 test bed aircraft, which they used to test different GE engines. And then they also recently re-released the United States VC-25A 29,000. They release this model fairly regularly, so they do like one every year. But their Air Force One models are some of the best out there, and they are worth the 200 some bucks they cost to buy them. So yeah, they're quite expensive, quite limited, but they're really, really good. So those are some of the ones that we thought were really interesting. And with that being said, we move on to Panda Models, who has a new release set, and they released some interesting aircraft. They have this new mold with the Tu-134, which is a really interesting aircraft in that it was a really small commercial airliner that the Soviets built. I want to say it's somewhere around, it's almost basically a regional jet. I think it holds somewhere between 70 to 100 people. And they make several different variants, including almost like a very fast version, almost slightly sub-supersonic version that they released one of here for the Russian Air Force. And I think they have a total of 3 or 4 Tu-134s they announced for this release set. And of course the one that I'm most excited about are the 2 Delta A321neos, which I'll be picking up both. They're doing both 501 Delta Alpha and 502 Delta X-Ray. So both should be great models. The only issue is that Panda Models has had some quality control issues, and hopefully they get that fixed. Although I'm not holding my breath, I expect both to come broken. It just is the way it is with Panda right now.
Absolutely, yes. This is a very unique set from Panda Models. I'm very excited about the new Tu-134 mold with the UB, L, and the Alpha variant, which is very, very cool. I think those are cool planes. And again, it's kind of hard to relate to those since those are more for Russia, but I think they're really, really cool regardless. And, you know, they're fun planes to experiment with. Very cool design for sure. So especially with the tail fin and the nose shapes on some of those variants, they're very unique. But really cool airplanes for sure. I really, really like them. You got the Delta A321neos as well. It's just so weird because we've seen this a lot recently with conflicts of interest in the model collecting industry. So many manufacturers, for whatever reason, will end up doing aircraft right next to each other, which is so funny for various reasons. For instance, the Star Wars livery for United was done by JC Wings and NG Models because the livery just got repainted. Or now Delta A321neo is getting done by Panda and NG because it just started revenue service. So it's so crazy to see all this variation with all these different releases, and you'll see it from so many manufacturers. But the more the merrier, I guess. Get some competition going, pick which one you guys like best, and it does provide plenty of variety for our industry. So I think it's a good thing, but there's various opinions there for sure. You also got the Singapore Cargo 737-300 freighter. That's a cool plane, I'm sure. That's a really nice niche-based aircraft. And lastly, we got the, I think that's just not AirTran literally, but AirTan, something like that. Cargo 737-800, which is nice, so that'll be another great plane for the fleet. Kind of looks like the Airbridge cargo livery, which is interesting, but that'll be nice for...
That's Air Tanzania. They were a Russian carrier.
Very cool plane for sure. It's a great looking aircraft. I'm sure that'll be helpful for anybody looking for that in their cargo fleet.
Yeah, and I actually like it when companies will do the same with an aircraft, because usually when they do multiple releases of the same plane, that means there's quite a bit of demand for that model. So I know some people get annoyed by it, but a lot of times when a new aircraft comes in service, everybody makes a model of it because everybody wants a model of it. And so that's just the reality of the industry. Whenever the next really exciting plane, like when the Qantas A350 does go into service, you betcha everybody's going to make a model of it because it's going to be an aircraft that a lot of people are interested in buying. It just is what it is. So the last release that we're going to talk about in today's video are the new Phoenix models releases. And there's some interesting ones in here. They made a bunch of A340s, which is a decent mold for them. I have not tried one, but I've heard good things about them. They made a 747-800 Atlas Air, which I'm very much interested in. And then they did a Korean Air 748. I really should pick up the recent release they did in the regular livery, because at one point those did fly into Atlanta. And then of course they did two Prime Air 737-800s. Phoenix's 737 is kind of, it's okay. It's not as good as the NG. And another reason I should mention that you may want to avoid these two releases are these are actually test registrations. These were not the registrations that went on to the actual aircraft when they went into service. So that is something to note, but if that doesn't bother you, pick up these two Prime Air 737-800s because they'll be very nice models for your collection. Of course, they also did the Qantas House A350. The Phoenix A350 is not very good, so I do recommend you stay away from that like it's the plague. Other than that, a bunch of interesting aircraft. They did an Airbus Cargo 748 as well, and this one is from their subsidiary, which is Cargo Logo Air.
Cargo Logic Air, I believe, yes.
Some Cargo Logic Air, yeah. But very interesting. Bunch of different aircraft in here, and they definitely hit a more Asian portion of the market. That's always been more their focus, is particularly in China and East Asia. And for that market, I think they did a great job.
I completely agree. This is another fun release right here. Great A340s. I really like the Iberia particularly, but the South Africa A340-600 Star Alliance livery is great. The Mahan Air is also awesome. So great job. The Egypt Air 777 I think will be great. I'm sure a lot of people will be excited for that in a good mold. Cathay Air 340-600 in the old colors. Very cool plane. And a great note, the Prime Air registrations. Thanks for mentioning that. So again, and then another Qantas house livery, just proving my principle that I talked about just a moment ago. So another fun release from Phoenix. I'm excited to see what they'll continue to do. I do think that maybe they should try to update their molds or get some additional molds or something like that. But they'll continue to produce what they got to produce. So Phoenix, can't blame you. Keep up the good work, and excited to see what they will progress.
Runway 17, clear to land. Clear to land, runway 17, come on, 257 Kilo Alpha.